the blessing of the fishing fleet.
The joy and the hope, the courage, and the power of God's Spirit be with you all.
Every year, the Portuguese community in Cape Town marks their connection to this waterfront in what is both a prayerful and festive affair.
My father was already a fisherman in the early 60s. Predominantly all the boats that are here, their fathers or grandfathers had these boats for many, many years. Probably from the early 50s already, there was a fishing fleet, a Portuguese fishing fleet in Cape Town. For us that have been here for many, many years, we've got a sense of almost heritage and knowing the place well.
Those who navigate there may be successful in their endeavors and return safely to port through Christ our Lord. Amen.
As a priest anoints the boats, it's time to celebrate life on the sea while also asking for protection.
The waters in South Africa are notoriously dangerous, and we've had many, many shipwrecks here. We have to be very, very careful with regarding to weather, but yes, extremely dangerous waters to fish in.
That rough weather ironically played a part in modernizing this stretch of water known as Table Bay. In 1858, Lloyd's of London refused to insure ships here during winter because of the damage wreaked by high winds and storms. So Cape Town decided to construct a docklands with protected basins. It's on this infrastructure, more than a century later, that the Victoria and Alfred waterfront was built, with developers deciding not to restrict the harbour, but instead to embrace it.
One of the first things about the Cape Town waterfront is that it was then and still is a working harbour. People get bored of stagnant water. They want authentic movement and activity, so they took some incredibly brave decisions. They left the synchro lift, they left the dry dock, they left lots of real gritty activities. Very, very great foresight and insight that they had at that time.
The current harbour master was part of the original team who planned this dockyard development 30 years ago.
Our previous executive managers looked around the world and realized that a lot of the old decaying and falling apart harbours and ports were becoming just a pool of water and a surround of buildings and some, I'll use the word, dead ships or dead boats. And we realized that if you want to be the best, we need to keep this working business around us, with us all the time.
While the pedestrian and ocean-going traffic appear to coexist seamlessly, it requires plenty of coordination.
The bridge will be open for shipping now. For your personal safety, please stand clear of the bridge and gate area.
As the harbour master, I have to constantly push back on retail development because they see it as an opportunity to get people closer to the water, and I'm at the same time saying I need to push back with my ship to get my people into that environment.
With its world-class facilities, the waterfront is a popular destination with all seafarers, from trawlers to super yachts. Industries have sprung up around the needs of the visitors who dock around the clock, including boat builders.
Working alongside some of our adjacent yacht clubs where the boats are initially launched, a lot of them come here to the V&A Waterfront, and we've got commercial workup berths. So the yachts put into the water for the very first time, and then they are commissioned alongside. The mast is put up, the sails are added, all the inventory is added. Then our safety authority comes and examines the boat and gives them a safety certificate, and then those boats are exported.
Lindani Mikunu has spent several years delivering South African-made yachts overseas. His landlocked life changed when he stepped on board a sailing ship.
I've done trips from Cape Town to the Caribbean, and just being out in the sea 2,000 nautical miles away from any piece of land, that's all you feel. You feel free.
It's that sense of opportunity that Lindani wants the club to provide to future generations.
So welcome, guys, to the opening cruise.
He manages the Royal Cape Yacht Club Sailing Academy.
When you come out of the waterfront after the salute for the Commodore, then we go out and we go for a fun sail with the main and stuff. We're trying to change the tide, if you will. Our sport has been one that has been historically very kind of white elitist, if you will. And we're trying to change that view by introducing kids that would have never had the opportunity. They don't have access to the water because of where they live in places like Khayelitsha, Langa, Kukuletu. And so we're trying to bring those kids, black, colored, into the space and introduce them to sailing.
Lindani and his Commodore continue to build on the traditions of the yacht club to secure its future. While the opening race of the sailing season has been on the club calendar for 110 years, protocol is still strictly observed.
We'll go into the waterfront where I will be standing.
Well done, guys. Well done, kids.
The tradition is that everybody sails past the Commodore and salutes him. After that, it's a big party.
A number of high-profile sailing races, such as the Clip Around the World race and the Volvo Ocean race, make stops at the waterfront.
When it comes to the racing part, they work very closely with our club because we've got all the infrastructure in terms of laying marks, starting races, ending races. So we kind of form a partnership with the V&A Waterfront authorities and the race officials, and we jointly manage the whole regatta or race, like the Volvo, for instance, coming here now.
Apart from the sheer joy of sailing, Lindani wants the sea to inspire his young sailors to find their vocation and maybe a livelihood.
Well, the job opportunities that could be available for kids from Langa and Kairicha who are unemployed or are looking to study further would be, you're looking at one that's very glaring, like boat building. Then those boats also have to have skippers. So that's another job opportunity for them, to actually be skippers and get to see the world. Then there's sail making, which is also another component of the boat. We have some great sail makers here in South Africa. There's boat design. I mean, the list is endless.
As more and more people are drawn to the water's edge, the possibilities are endless.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. Zenith Bank PLC is one of the biggest banks in Africa, with about 1 million shareholders and over 300 business offices in Nigeria and subsidiaries in other African countries and the United Kingdom. Committed to the best possible customer experience. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.